Attorney General Pam Bondi took questions from the Senate Judiciary Committee on Tuesday for about 4 hours. Now, I watched a lot of this because it's my job too, and you probably didn't. So I'm going to fill you in on what you need to know about what Bondi said, what probably more importantly, what she didn't say, and why I think she probably succeeded in this hearing. So this is the first time Bondi's been on Capitol Hill since she was confirmed as Attorney General, top law enforcement official in the country. There's obviously a lot going on, from the ongoing fight over the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files to the indictment of James Comey at Donald Trump's behest. So Democrats were loaded for bear here. Democrats on the committee saw this as an opportunity to really score political points, ask Bondi a bunch of pointed questions. And Bondi, because she's chosen by Donald Trump for this reason, was extremely combative. She attacked Richard Blumenthal, the Democrat from Connecticut, over his military service record. She told Illinois Senator Dick Durbin that she wished he loved Chicago as much as he hated Donald Trump. It was she said Mazie Hirono from Hawaii supported Antifa, and there was a lot of back and forth. Let's just call it that. So I do want to kind of I want to guide you through what mattered here and what didn't. Now, before I do that, I want to make a pitch to you. I am making videos every single day. I'm in Reno, Nevada right now in an airport, but I still am making a video every single day because I want to bring you guys the best in class analysis from an independent, authentic content creator. So independent. I used to work for mainstream media. I don't anymore. No corporate bosses. Independent also from the two political parties. I don't tell you things are good for Republicans because they're Republicans, or good for Democrats because they're Democrats. I'm also authentic, which is I don't do fan service. I'm always going to give you my honest take, whether I think that's going to make you a subscriber, make you unsubscribe, or whatever. You shouldn't agree with me all the time. You won't agree with me all the time. I take that to be a good thing, not a bad thing. Okay, the Bondi hearing. So for me, the biggest takeaway was that she offered no real explanation when it came to the Epstein files and the conflicting messages that have come out of them, out of the FBI and the Department of Justice since a memo several months ago from the Department of Justice and the FBI. Now, you will remember back in February, Pam Bondi, as Attorney General, was doing an interview on Fox News. She was asked about an Epstein client list, that is, people who Jeffrey Epstein had documented were engaged in some of at least the sexual misconduct with young girls and young women, or the sexual trafficking. Bondi said at the time that she was looking at the client list and reviewing it before it could be released. Fast forward to this memo released by the FBI and the Department of Justice, where they said, well, actually, there is no client list. Also, Epstein killed himself. He wasn't murdered. Nothing to see here. Case closed. Well, that has occasioned a massive fight on the right, especially, many of whom these people expected that there was going to be something there because they were told for years that there would be by these very same people who said there now isn't, right? The Trump folks had said, well, when we get into power, we're going to tell you the real story. And then they said, there's no story. Okay, so Bondi was asked about Epstein and about those specific comments in February about reviewing the client list. And she said, quote, I said I had not reviewed it yet. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see our memo clearly points out there was no client list. But again, that's not what she said. She said she was reviewing the client list and that it would be released. Now, what I wish Bondi would say, this is the best possible explanation in terms of Bondi, what I wish she would say is, I misspoke. I meant we were reviewing the entire Epstein investigation, not the client list, and I misspoke. That's it. There was no client list then, there isn't a client list now. But because she works for Donald Trump, she will never say that. She will never admit that she was wrong. Instead, she will emphasize that, oh, no, I always said this, when in fact she didn't always say this, which is okay. Sometimes we misspeak on television. I've definitely done it. But she won't admit that, which I think is annoying. She also refused to answer any questions about why she flagged Donald Trump's name being in the Epstein files to Trump. We know that Trump met with Bondi in the spring to go over the fact that his name was in these documents. Again, again, that doesn't make him privy and party to what Jeffrey Epstein did, but it does mean his name was in there. And I will say, between February and now, the administration changed its position. We were going to release all the Epstein files. Now we're not releasing all of them. And that incident of her telling Trump that he was in there is what came in between those 2 points. So I do think that's worth noting. Now, again, what else? That to me is the biggest thing. So no further information, no admission of wrongdoing, no admission of misspeaking, and no indication that they do plan on releasing more of the Epstein files. So again, I think that issue is going to come back. The House is going to have 218 votes for a discharge petition sometime soon, probably by the end of this month. That will force an up or down vote on whether the Epstein files should be released. That won't force the Department of Justice to release them, but it will put pressure on them to do so, particularly because the House is controlled by Republicans. That to me was the biggest news. The second biggest news was Bondi's tone. So Bondi was incredibly pointed in her reactions to questions about Donald Trump, to questions about the Jim Comey indictment, to the back and forth about whether Comey had been indicted for political reasons, about federal troops being put into cities. She went out of her way to be combative. Now, there's a reason for that. She has an audience of one. Donald Trump. He likes that. He likes her combativeness. He likes that she's fighting with Democratic senators. So that's all. There's a purpose to all of that. There is method to that madness. And then she really didn't answer many questions at all. She basically said, force me to answer if you need me to answer. And of course, the Senate wasn't able to do that. Right now, Dick Durbin from Illinois said, well, there's going to become a time where you're going to have to answer for your actions, but it wasn't now. She also, and this will be music to Trump's ears, said that Republicans didn't politicize the Justice Department. It was Democrats who had politicized the Justice Department through the Russia investigation, through the investigation into Jim Comey, et cetera, that they were the ones who were responsible for this. So all in all, I think Bondi probably got what she wanted, which was some clips that will go viral in the conservative media world that show Donald Trump, that show her fighting for Donald Trump and pushing back against Democratic senators. We didn't learn much more about the Epstein files. The White House appears still not willing to give on that question at all, which I think they're eventually going to have to, but they haven't done so yet. And again, nothing new on the Comey indictment. And Donald Trump's clear putting his thumb on the scales of justice to make sure that Jim Comey got indicted. So I would say the Epstein stuff was the most newsworthy. I would say how Bondi handled herself combatively is the second biggest story. And the third is nothing new on Comey. And my guess is we're going to see more indictments like that rather than less out of this White House. Okay, that's all I got. Hope everyone's doing well. I ask you to do a couple things. Subscribe, easy, independent and authentic. That's me. I also ask you to like and comment on this video. That helps me grow my following among people who are not already subscribers. Last thing, be an evangelist for me. Tell a few people about what I'm doing here and why you think it matters. So I hope you can do all those things, and I hope you take care, and I will be back with another video tomorrow.